principal here at Tipton Academy. We're asking that if you have any questions, please type those into the Q&A section down there below. And that way that'll give us an opportunity to be able to answer all of your questions at the end of our presentation. Please keep in mind, this is our first time doing a virtual kindergarten roundup. So that being said, there may be a couple of technical difficulties that may come up. Please just bear with us. Kindergarten can be a truly exciting and wonderful part of our lives. Many of us can remember epic moments from kindergarten that set the stage for the rest of our time in school. And now I would like to introduce you to the extraordinary team here at Tipton Academy that will be working with your students this fall. Next slide. There you go. All right, I'll just slide past that one. 2 seconds. All right, Mrs. Gilbert, our school superintendent, is literally one of the most thoughtful individuals I've ever met. Her daughter just graduated from high school, so she definitely has an understanding of the importance of big moments like the first day of kindergarten and graduations. She prides herself on making every event an epic moment for our students here at Tipton. Additionally, she's always more than willing to brainstorm and to work through problems with anyone in need of a little bit of support. Whether it's a teacher or a parent, she's always there to help. After spending time in various positions in education, we can certainly rest assured that she's more than capable of solving most of the problems that come up at the school. Next slide. Next, I'm Dr. Lackley. I'm the principal here at Tipton Academy. And besides the little man on the screen, who is also going to be starting kindergarten this fall, Tipton Academy is my world. I love what I do. I love that I get an opportunity to work with an amazing staff, and I feel like my purpose in life has really been able to help others. I'm a huge basketball fan, so if you ever want to start a conversation with me, just mention the Detroit Pistons, and I'll definitely, have a conversation with you, and we could talk about it for a while. Next slide. And next up, we have Mrs. Orlando, my vice principal. She has a very unique perspective on kindergarten this year. Her youngest child, Sophia, just finished kindergarten a couple weeks ago. So that means my son is going into kindergarten and her daughter is just leaving kindergarten. So it kind of goes without being said that kindergarten is a very important year to our school's admin team. In addition to her kindergarten, Mrs. Orlando has a 14-year-old son who recently graduated from Tipton Academy 2 weeks ago. And she also has a very high-spirited 7-year-old too. I literally have nothing but fantastic things to say about Mrs. Orlando, except for she's a Michigan State fan. Just joking. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Orlando to introduce our rockstar teachers.
All right, next slide. All right, so first up we have Miss Costello. Go ahead and wave. Miss Costello. She's frozen. Miss Costello will become a Tipton parent this year when her son starts GSRP this fall and lives in Garden City. She also loves spending time with family, reading, doing puzzles, and being outside. She's also one of our mentor teachers at the school. Next slide. Miss MacGyver, go ahead and wave. Miss MacGyver loves to spend time gardening, traveling, and going to cardio drumming classes. She has even helped run cardio drumming for one of our curriculum nights last year. Next slide. And then last but not least, we have Miss Randall's. Go ahead and wave. Miss Randall's also had an 8th grader graduate from Tipton this fall. And she enjoys going up north with her family, spending time outdoors by fishing, camping, and boating. So they love to travel back and forth. And she's also one of our mentor teachers. And then just to kind of wrap up just our team in general, our kindergarten team goes above and beyond for their families and students at Tipton by dropping off food and multiple goodie bags to their students' houses multiple times throughout quarantine. They led daily live lessons through Zoom because they wanted their students to have some sense of normalcy throughout everything. And planning a fun drive-through end-of-the-year ceremony for our families to celebrate their accomplishments. And hopefully we've all been able to get onto Facebook and kind of watch the video that we posted that showed the celebration. It was a ton of fun, and the kids and families loved it. Next slide.
Yep, and you can go ahead and transition to the next one too as well.
I missed this photo earlier.
Yes, so there are always a ton of words that can be said about our school. And I think our biggest one is kind of like When we think about our mission statement, Tipton Academy, in partnership with students, staff, parents, and community members, will challenge all students to realize their full potential by providing them with the highest quality educational program through individualized academic achievement, high moral standards, and strong family and community engagement. So if you take us to the next slide, Angela, I can talk a little bit more in depth about that. But when we think about Tipton Academy, we have three big pillars: high moral standards, family and community engagement, and an equitable learning experience. When it comes to high moral standards, that's something that we push in the classrooms. I can't tell you how many times that I've walked inside of the kindergarten classrooms and the teachers are teaching the highest moral expectations, regardless if it's saying the pledge in the morning, if it's talking about just being a kind citizen or being a kind student to one another. That's definitely going on. Tipton Academy is very much a family and community school. If you're looking at the picture, we do all types of cool events. We have the Santa Land Day Parade, and that's something that we've done every year. We usually make a float and we go out there. Like, Tipton's usually in full effect. We're usually one of the bigger schools in Garden City out there celebrating and representing our school. But outside of that, we do a ton of different community engagement events. When it comes to being an equitable school, Tipton goes above and beyond. When you think about Tipton Academy, we literally service 5 different cities of students. So we have students that come from Redford, we have students that come from Detroit, Garden City, Wayne, Westland, Livonia, Inkster, you name it. And our important thing is that we teach our students to be both tolerant, but also accepting of all other cultures that are going on. Next slide. All right.
Okay, so some of our goals for social and emotional learning in kindergarten is celebrating uniqueness and differences. So we want all of the children who enter our classroom to feel represented. We celebrate diversity in our classroom through reading diverse books and different activities, and really creating a classroom culture that each child is unique and a special individual. Coping with emotions. We want children to understand that it's okay to feel different emotions, and it's okay to be sad or to be angry or to be disappointed, but we want to help them manage those emotions in appropriate ways. So techniques that we use might look a little bit different for different students since they're individuals. But some things that we may use, maybe taking breaks outside of the classroom when they need it, or might be a quiet, safe space in the classroom where they can relax and calm down, or using a calm down bucket that has different things in it, like books that are about being angry or about being sad, crayons and paper to color with if that's something that they need to calm them down, or stress balls to squeeze. Problem solving skills. So this is something that we do in our classroom because we really want to foster independence. We want the children to be able to think of ways to solve problems that they encounter. So we do scenarios in the classroom that the children act out, things that we watch videos that they can kind of give ideas for different solutions. Getting involved with getting along with others in conflict resolution. That's basically sharing and taking turns, playing fair, cooperative games and tasks, and using words to express themselves. We really want them to understand that it's okay to use their words, and it's okay to tell someone to stop doing something that they don't like, or to ask someone not to do something. And also manners and polite words. So that kind of goes along with managing emotions. We want them to be able to ask for things in appropriate ways, other than just using words like please and thank you. Next slide.
Some of our goals for the health and safety of our students in kindergarten. We know this is some of the students' first classroom experiences, so they may not understand the expectations that we have in our classrooms, and also those expectations might be different from classroom to classroom, from hallway to the lunchroom to the specials classrooms outside. So we go over it with anchor charts, we read stories, we talk about, is that a good choice, is that a bad choice, and things that they can do to keep themselves safe. We always make sure that we come back to that as our job is to keep you safe. This is why we are doing it. Proper hand washing techniques. It sounds silly, but especially with this COVID thing that was going on, we really want to make sure that all of our kiddos are safe, whether it's with hand sanitizer or soap and water. So we remind them when they go to the bathroom to either sing their ABCs or some kind of silly song so that we know they're getting those germs off their hands as much as possible. We also have hand sanitizer in our classrooms available for sneezes and coughs and all of that. We promote healthy food choices. So we do have a snack in the morning, and we promote the healthy food choices for the kids. You know, fruits, vegetables, cereal, things like that. We encourage them if they want to bring in those treats that would be for lunch, but even when we have our snacks in our classroom, we show them that we will be eating the healthy food to model for them that healthy food choices are good for them. That goes along with promoting exercise and brain breaks. We know these are young kiddos. You know, some of them first time in school, they're only 5. It's a huge long day for them. So we can't expect them to sit there all day and just listen and do work. We do so many brain breaks, whether it's a dance party or yoga or just get up and run in place for a couple minutes. Sometimes when it gets a little bit too much, we'll go for a walk outside the building. We know they need that fresh air and that brain break, and we do too. And then same thing with street safety. So our playground is right across a side street from our school. It's a dead end, so there's very little traffic, but we teach them that you can't just run across the street. You have to stop, you look both ways. There's different chants that each of us use, and that we want to make sure that they're doing look to the left, look to the right, making sure that they're safe before they cross the street. Next slide.
So part of our foundational academics that we do, I'm going to talk a little bit about ELA, which is English and Language Arts. We use EBLI, which is an evidence-based learning instruction. It's an effective, proven tool to teach foundational skills and help all students improve in reading, writing, and spelling, not just struggling students, but all students. We teach phonics, letter names, sounds, blending, comprehension. We do story maps, make personal connections, problems and solutions. We teach parts of speech and sentence writing, and we use many tools to do this. We use EBLI, we use Reading Street, we pull resources from outside of those things. We use Reading A to Z, a lot of things that we find on Teachers Pay Teachers, things that we know will best help our students. Next slide.
Some of our other foundational academics is math. And so coming into kindergarten, some students know their numbers and counting, and some students are just at the beginning, which is perfectly fine. So we focus a lot on number identification and being able to recognize the numeral numbers, as well as basic counting skills. So being able to count in order without skipping numbers, or if you see a number 5 card, being able to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 using manipulatives. A lot of our math, even with ELA, we do a lot of manipulatives and center work with our kiddos. They need that hands-on learning. And so we do that a lot just for them to have that control of their environment when they're learning. Addition and subtraction, we do it up to 20 with some of the numbers. Some of our older kids or our higher kids can go up to 20, but we focus really solely on 1 to 10 of being able to take 1 plus 2 and have that fluency of knowing 1 plus 2 equals 3. With addition and subtraction, we also do word problems. So we will give them stories. Now, I know some of the kiddos can't read the whole word problem. So normally we would put the numbers in the numeral form, but being able to make that connection to if Susie has 5 and I have 3, how many do we have all together, and putting it into real life situations. Decomposing numbers goes along with that. If I say, tell me a way of making 7, they can figure out that 3 plus 4 equals 7. So taking a number and breaking it apart. We do a lot of that with blocks and Legos and just using these big anchor charts and big pictures for them to see so that they can understand it. Shapes are fun because we try to use hands-on things with the virtual learning these past couple of months. My kiddos were finding things in their house. Go find me a sphere, go find me a cylinder, and they were bringing things from their kitchen and their living room. So being able to take those shapes that we learn about and putting them into real life objects, things that they would have in their house, really help them to understand that. And then measurement, we talk about capacity. So how much can something hold? We talk about height and length, and then how much things weigh. So we use the balance scales and we bring in all these resources for the kiddos so they can see when we manipulate them. Next slide.
Okay, foundational academics for science and social studies. So for science, we start off the year with problem and solution, and then we move right along into engineering. And in engineering, they learn the design process. So they know that it starts off with an engineer encountering a problem, that they design a solution by drawing a model, by drawing or building a model. They test it. After they build it, they test it, and then they revise it if it did not work. So the kids in the classroom actually do this. And we do it in really fun ways by reading Three Billy Goats Gruff and having the children build bridges and seeing if they work or if it doesn't work and if they have to fix it. We also do this by reading The Three Little Pigs, having the children build houses. We'll bring in our hair dryers and we will try and blow them down. And if it gets blown down, we want them to go back and see how they can build it and how they can make it stronger. We also learn about weather, different types of weather, seasons. We learn about forces of motion, so how things move, pushes and pulls, how to make things move, or using force to change direction. We also learn about living and non-living, the characteristics of living and non-living things, and the needs. We learn about plants, the parts of a plant, what plants need to grow, the life cycle of a plant. And then we do an experiment where we plant seeds in different types of substances such as soil, sand, and rock. Some don't have water, some don't have sun, and then we observe and we write about which ones grew best. And then we also learn about animals. We learn about different animal groups, characteristics, habitats, how animals can change their environment. And then we touch on a few other things like Earth Day and taking care of the earth, using less resources, reduce, reuse, recycle, and also the life cycle of a butterfly. And we will have actual live caterpillars and butterflies in our classrooms. For social studies, we learn about getting along with others, scenarios with puppets where kids act out the problems and give solutions. We learn about the past, the present, and the future, so what life was like in the past. And then the children will create a timeline of the past, what they were like as babies, or pictures of them in the present, and then what they think they're going to be like in the future or what they're going to do in the future. We also learn about communities, different types of communities such as cities, rural, and suburbs, that different communities are made up of different types of people, different types of homes, that parks, schools, stores, restaurants, police, and fire stations are all part of a community. And then we do a class project where we actually create a 3D community in our classrooms. We learn about geography, that we all live in different cities, but that we all live in the state of Michigan, that we all live in the country that is the United States, and that the flag is the symbol of the US. We explore maps, globes, and oceans. And we learn about how people live around the world, so that different people speak different languages, they dress differently, they eat different foods, they celebrate different holidays and have different customs and traditions. Next slide.
So we also teach our students a love for school. You're going to see towards the bottom, it says passionate teachers, but I have never met a group of teachers that are so passionate. Just frankly put, we love our kids. We make sure that we have a nurturing environment where they feel safe to come to us with any problems if they have them, that they feel loved, that they feel cared for. And in turn, because of this, they're better able to learn. We plan very engaging lessons and activities. We make sure that we are doing hands-on things where the kids are actively involved in the lessons. We have a safe learning environment. It goes back to the social studies aspect and getting along with others and making sure that the kids know that it's okay to answer questions, to feel safe about answering questions, that it's okay if they're wrong, as long as they're trying. I mean, we all always say, try your best. We don't care if your answer is correct or incorrect, as long as you're trying your best. And part of this goes into building a classroom family. I call all of my students my kiddos all the time. We are a family in our classroom. We will get along with others. We teach that it's okay not to like everybody, because that's okay in life. You are not going to like everybody, but we have to get along with everybody, and we have to be compassionate. We have to use our manners with other people, no matter what we're feeling or how we're feeling. It's not okay to put other kids down. So yeah, that's a love for school. Next slide.
All right, so this one is all about the Tipton Tiger Way. And when you think about the Tipton Tiger Way, we're really thinking about what embodies being the Tipton Tiger. And the biggest thing that we always push is it is definitely a family environment. Regardless of which classroom you go inside of at Tipton Academy, we're always going to have like a family atmosphere where we have tight bonds, we're close. Our students typically show up, they're ready, they're engaged, and we try to do our best. And we make it an open atmosphere where you definitely can make those mistakes because they're not even necessarily mistakes, it's feedback. And once you get that feedback, you can use that feedback to take steps towards future successes. I can't tell you how many times I've walked inside of these three teachers' classrooms and seen amazing lessons taking place. One time I walked inside of a classroom and I seen like a 7-foot rubber ducky, and that totally blew my mind. But after I heard the story behind it, that it was going to be utilized as part of the lesson, I was excited and I was like, this is exactly what you want to see inside of the classrooms. In addition to that, I've walked in at other times and, I'm literally eating apple crisp because our teachers go above and beyond to make sure that they're providing our students a very unique learning experience for their entire time that they're here at Tipton. And that even carries over towards the middle school where we have other awesome experiences like our 8th grade field trip. But we really do feel like kindergarten is that starting point, and we're definitely pushing our brand because Tipton truly is a family. Next slide.
So we're just going to take you through what a typical day looks like in kindergarten. This is kind of an idea of what our schedule looks like. So first thing in the morning, we greet all of our students at the door. They come in, they hang up their coats, their backpacks, put their lunch boxes where they need to, and then they go to their seats. And depending on what our intervention schedule looks like, depends on what we do next, but they will either go into morning work that goes along with whatever we're learning about in ELA or math, or they might go into their math centers where they work in small groups with each other on different math skills. And we do the centers based on the data that we're collecting. So we differentiate the centers and we group our students according to that. And so that they're working on the skills that they need individually. After that, we do a calendar time where we go over the months, days of the week, the year. We include different things in our calendar. We have counting. We count how many days we've been in school. We check the weather. After that, we do our science or social studies. We do a rotating schedule with science and social studies. So on a Monday, we might do science, Tuesday, social studies, Wednesday, science, and we kind of just go back and forth. After that, we have snack and bathroom break. So the students go on bathroom break, they wash their hands, they do all that. They come in and they get the snack that they brought from home. If they don't have a snack from home, we provide them with a healthy snack choice. And then we go into ELA, phonics, and EBLI. And after that is ELA centers and small groups. Same thing with math centers. We base our small groups on our data from different things, including the NWEA, Illuminate, and our teacher assessments that we do in class. Then that's usually when we break for lunch. After lunch, we do recess. They come in from recess and they get to kind of relax a little bit and calm down while we do a read aloud. After the read aloud, we go into math, and then we go into specials, which Mrs. MacGyver is going to talk about in just a moment. After specials, we come back to our classroom, we get our things ready to go, and it's time for dismissal. Next slide.
Okay, so our specials classes are physical education, technology, drama, and art. So your child will be in one of these classes each quarter. So for physical education, they focus on locomotor movement, so running and leaping, skipping, hopping, and galloping, as well as manipulative skills, so throwing, underhand, catching, dribbling with hands and feet, and movement pathways, so zigzags, straight lines, circles, and animal movements. For technology, they focus on hand-eye coordination, the transition from tablets to laptops, and then reinforcing a lot of the kindergarten skills that we teach, such as numbers and letters. In drama, that class is based on working together. They do puppetry, so they make puppets, and they learn about how puppets are a form of acting and expressing yourself. They learn about story elements, so characters, plot, setting, theme, and they pretend to be really fun characters like astronauts, farmers, and that sort of thing, sometimes animals as well. And they also learn about emotions. They learn about what emotions are, how to communicate them, and how to express them in appropriate ways. And then in art class, they learn about the elements of art, so color, shape, line, and texture. They learn fine motor development with cutting, tearing, coloring, and they explore materials and express themselves through their art. Next slide.
We actually had an opportunity to do a virtual learning with the kindergartners because of COVID. So we had virtual learning going on from the middle of March till the end of the school year. And so this is kind of how we planned and how we presented it to the parents. So if we had to do virtual learning again, we do have a background, a little bit more understanding of how to present it. We did daily video lessons using Class Dojo. And what we would do is the teachers would record themselves reading books, doing math activities, creating charts, doing sorts and all of that. And then we would post it onto Dojo with the assignment or the activity at the end for the kiddos to complete. And then we would have them send it in to us so we could check it and make sure that they understood the materials. We did a lot of read alouds. We wanted them to have that sense of normalcy that was talked about earlier, that we love to read, and we wanted them to see us read, not posting videos from YouTube or things like that. We wanted them to see our faces. And I had a lot of parents respond saying, you know, I would plug in my computer to the big TV and my kiddo would just stare at it thinking that she was in the classroom with you because she wanted you to read her the story. So it gave the children a sense of normalcy as well. We did a lot of phonics. So we did word sorts with word families and vowel teams. And so we did a lot of decodable readers, which are very simple books. We would read it with the kiddos. We would have them read it at home. And then with math, just the basic math skills. So for the virtual learning that we did, we focused on the counting, the addition, subtraction, the number bonds, so decomposing the numbers, shapes, and measurement. And so because we were at home, not being able to be in the classroom with all our materials that were there, we were getting creative and we would find things around our house. For measurement, I know I went in my kitchen cupboard and found bowls and cups and dinosaurs for my son. I'm like, okay, let's measure the dinosaurs. And I'd have my son in here helping me do the activities because, hey, I had his toys. But it made it more personable for the kids. We also did weekly Zoom calls. So just like we're Zooming right now, we would schedule 2, 3, 4. I know we were on Zoom all the time, but we would do weekly Zoom calls with the kids so we could do activities with them as if we were in the classroom. So we could have that interaction with them. They could learn right alongside us. We did small groups for reading. So just like we would pull small groups in the classroom based on their reading skills or where they needed help with, we also did those on Zoom. So they got that one-on-one or the small group interaction that they craved. And then we also did flexible time for working families. We know families were still working, so instead of just saying, okay, our Zooms are only at 10 o'clock in the morning, we gave some in the morning, some in the evening, some in the afternoon to try and reach all the kiddos or the parents. And then because it was getting a little bit crazy and it wasn't a normal school for us, we did a lot of fun activities. So we did a countdown to the end of the school year, which is something that we do in the classroom anyways. And so on different days, we did activities like dance parties or scavenger hunts. I know I did cooking with Costello a couple days before the end of the school year, and we made Rice Krispie treats in the kitchen. And then I brought them in to give to them when they picked up their stuff. We did a yoga call and show and tell. So we tried to make it as engaging as possible for them. Sometimes I dressed up in silly costumes. I had my hair crazy or a Christmas sweater on in April. But just to make it engaging and wanting them to be involved in there. And then that kind of went along with our drop-offs that we did. I know we all did multiple drop-offs, but we gave out dry erase markers and page protectors and crayons and paper and books so that they had the materials that they needed to do the activities that we were doing with them on the Zoom calls. Next slide.
Awesome. All right, yep, you can go to the next slide. So one big thing at Tipton Academy is that we've been slowly trying to take steps in the direction of addressing the whole child. We know that students do have academic needs, but we also understand that all students aren't cookie cutter. So we have students that come from all different cities of all different walks of life. So we do provide ELL services for students. We have a special education program. We have 504 plans. We do free and reduced lunch program. We do have a latchkey program that will be changing this year, but the new program, the reason that we decided to go out and get it was to get a program that better addressed the needs of our families and our stakeholders. So that's something that's going to be starting this fall. In addition to that, we do have MAP and ELA intervention, and we have Starfish Family Services, which is a therapy service where an off-site therapy organization comes in and they do on-site therapy services for the kids. And this is usually during non-instructional time so that the students aren't missing out on anything. And lastly, we do have a full-time social worker on staff at the school.
Here are just some of the classroom pictures from our individual classrooms. So this happens to be my classroom. And we did a celebration for the 100th day of school. So they all ordered shirts and made hats. And on each one of the streams of the hats have 10 stickers or 10 stamps. So they had to count up to 100, spelling their name in rainbow. But they had to actually rip the little construction papers or rip the strips into little pieces. So that fine motor skill of ripping the papers and then gluing them on. We have had visits from the firefighter for Fire Safety Month. So after visiting the firefighters and seeing their presentation and what we can do to stay safe, we wrote a letter. So the kiddos told me what to write. I wrote it and then they signed their names at the bottom. Also in October for Halloween, we explored pumpkins. So I brought in, or pumpkins were donated. We had a pumpkin on each table. Parents came in to volunteer. And before they could even cut open the pumpkin, they had to do some other observations. They had to figure out how many ribs were on the pumpkin, which are the lines that go around it. They had to find the belly button. So if you didn't know there's a belly button on a pumpkin, it's at the very bottom, which the kiddos think it's hilarious because pumpkins shouldn't have belly buttons, but they do. They had to measure the height of the pumpkin using counting cubes. They had to measure the circumference of the pumpkin using string. And then once they were done exploring the outside, then it was the fun part. We cut it open and they had to dig out all the seeds and gunk out of it. They had to count the seeds, so that was quite interesting. And then we graphed to see which pumpkin had the most seeds. And there were some with like 600 or 700 seeds that parents helped, but they were counting by tens or counting by five. So their grouping of counting was awesome. And then something that Mrs. MacGyver mentioned earlier about the engineering, we read the story about the 3 billy goats gruff. And the bottom left picture with the red Solo cups was some kiddos building a bridge. And so I brought in little trolls because in the story there are trolls. So of course I have trolls. And we brought in trolls and we had animals trap across the bridge to see if they would get eaten by the trolls. Next slide.
So these are some photos from my classroom, and the top left picture is the 7-foot duck. And what we did with that is we used it to introduce addition. So you can kind of see there's some kiddos in the background. They've got whiteboards and markers, and they were actually writing the addition problem. So what we did was I would call like 2 children onto the duck, and the children that were not participating that had the whiteboards would write the number 2, and then maybe I would call 3 more onto the duck, so then they would have to write +3, and then we would count how many there were all together. And of course they thought this was super cool because they got to climb on this huge inflatable duck. The next picture is students participating in a center. They were fishing for sight words, and then they were writing the words, the fish that they caught, the words on a recording sheet. The next picture is a student who was using letter beads to spell sight words. The bottom left is students who were creating ramps together, and we did this for our force and motion unit. So we were basically learning about how like an angle of something would make something go a little bit faster. So they were experimenting with that, and they were creating their own ramps in groups. And then the picture on the bottom with the frog finger puppets was an intro to subtraction. So they all had 5 little frog finger puppets. We read the book, we sang the song, and then I would write, as we would sing each verse, I would write the subtraction problems on the board so that they could see them. And then the bottom right picture is a child who was doing a center as well for ELA, and she was using Play-Doh and letter stampers to spell words. Next slide.
So the top left picture that Mrs. Costello was just talking about, this is when we had our firefighters join our classroom and teach us about fire safety. The next picture to the right, when we finished our unit about being a good friend, we got to make little hats that just said, "I'm a good friend" on the top of them. That's a group picture. The next picture to the right is on Halloween. The kids get to dress up, and we were just being silly and taking a goofy classroom picture. On the bottom left there, we were learning about cooperation, and the students had to work together all at the same time to kind of complete a picture. And the picture to the right of that is when we were working on communities. So they're actually all building a house or an apartment, a restaurant, a store, which are on paper bags that we later put paper inside of and then built a whole entire community. The next picture is from the very beginning of the school year when we're really learning how to write our names and form the letters. They're doing noodle names. So they are gluing noodles onto their pre-written names. And the last picture on the right goes with our engineering unit. So I know Mrs. MacGyver talked about it when they were building their structures, and then we went around with blow dryers or blew them down, and that's what they're working on there. Next slide.
So we have a few testimonials just from our parents from different classes. So our family could not be any happier with Tipton Academy and Mrs. Costello's kindergarten class. Our daughter loved everything about her class and exceeded expectations with her learning and her grades. I cannot wait for my younger daughter to go to kindergarten there as well. We love Miss Costello and we'll miss her very much. Thank you, Tipton Academy and Mrs. Costello. You are the very best. If you're looking for the best kindergarten, this is it. And any of you that are on our Facebook page, Miss Layla will also do announcements and read to our families. So she's very spirited and energetic. But if you look on our Facebook page, you can find videos of her. Next. My graduation was a day to remember. The school holds many memories and there is more to make. I had so much fun in the class. It's sad that it came to an end. I cannot wait to return next year. I will miss all my friends during the summer. I hope everyone stays safe and protected. Thank you, Miss Costello. And they also have another sibling coming to Tipton in the fall as well. Next. And then kindergarten at Tipton Academy is welcoming and friendly, not only to the child, but to the whole family. The teachers and staff are so kind and caring, making the full day kindergarten easier on the child, as well as making the parents feel comfortable that their child's needs are being met. Mrs. MacGyver has such compassion for her students. She utilizes a variety of teaching styles that allow her to identify where a child's strength lies and is then able to personalize to each student's learning ability. It's very easy to communicate with her, allowing parents to be involved with their child's learning and education. And that just attests our family environment that, you know, we welcome all families with open arms. Next.
All right, and that kind of segues us to the end of our presentation. You know, first off, thank you for everybody that came out today, that participated and watched our presentation. We definitely take our kindergarten very seriously at Tipton Academy, and we try to have fun with the students and make it a joyous experience for them. If you do have questions and you're not a current Tipton family, but after you leave this presentation, you can go to that link that was right before the Angela. You mind going back for just 2 seconds? This link right here to our website, all of our email addresses can be found on that website. So let's say if you wake up tomorrow and it's something that pops in your mind that you weren't able to ask tonight, feel free to go there and shoot any of us an email and we should be able to answer your questions for you.